Alright everyone, Tulsi Gabbard scored a huge victory at the second part of the Dem debate the other day in Detroit against Kamala Harris, specifically questioning her record point by point, which was effective on her prosecutorial record, putting over 1,500 black people away in prison for minor drug offenses and keeping them there to use as slave labor, essentially. Her endorsing of the death penalty and stuff like that. Now, some of it came from the left, sort of socially, but on prison reform, it's funny because Tulsi Gabbard and Trump actually are pretty ideologically similar. Kamala Harris was a tough on crime sort of liberal. By the way, here's a chink in Joe Biden's armor. He was the same. He was the author of some of these pieces of legislation, but he doesn't get as much of a problem with that because Kamala Harris specifically was a prosecutor, so she's taking all the fire from it. I can't wait to see the next slew of polls post-debate and see what they say. I don't care about the Tulsi Gabbard side because even though she's more sane than these people, arguably Marianne Williamson is too, which is scary. She might get a bump, but it'll be a temporary one. She'll be another Carly Fiorina moment. Don't get your hopes up for Tulsi Gabbard unless at the third debate she totally soars like an eagle. I can't see her becoming viable. And in order to do that, she'd have to knock Kamala Harris out of the top 5 and take her place and be a Pete Buttigieg spoiler or something. I don't know if that can happen. Kamala Harris, though, her polling, I have a feeling will go down. Which is terrible for her because she had already peaked and begun to decline in the wake of the first debate. She did well at the first debate. She scored several significant points. She rises. She was in the mid-single digits. She was where Pete Buttigieg is now, or even a Beto O'Rourke. And then she rose up to about 15. I predicted at the time she's going to stall. She's going to start receding. That's what she did. Now she has a poor debate performance. That's going to shove her head back underwater. She'll be down with Cory Booker pretty soon. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him, too, because, again, he did fairly well at the first debate. It didn't give him a bump. What happens if in the second debate, again, people are agreeing he did fairly well? If he doesn't get any bump from that, time's running out at this point. It's August now. The second debate round is now over. And as far as I can see, the only significant thing that changed is that Kamala Harris looks even less electable than she started to after she began to decline post-peak in the wake of the first debate. But here's some further analysis specifically on the Gabbard-Harris dynamic because it's become important, and it will be, over this particular short-term news cycle. One thing that you saw is that the legacy media, here's how you know that the Gabbard win was huge. The legacy media didn't even bother to hide the fact that she had that victory. But big tech did. Twitter buried Tulsi Gabbard, who was trending worldwide on Google, so she had to have been trending on Twitter. It's just common sense. It was everywhere. They buried her in trending, and instead they put up a Kamala Harris piece immediately after, a fluff piece where she was responding uninhibited to Tulsi Gabbard and basically saying, well, she's a small-time candidate and it's just all lies. Kamala Harris got it so badly that her main response to all questions and criticisms were some permutation of, you have less fans than me, or you are lying and then not pointing out how the person supposedly is lying. That seems to be Kamala Harris' MO. She's a crooked, slimy career politician, a big-wig-style prosecutor, and she's messed up. By the way, it's a common misconception that she slept her way to the top. She didn't. She committed adultery. But she didn't sleep her way to the top because she's not at the top, and she never will be. Kamala Harris is not going to become the president of the United States, so bye. It's going to be funny. Her response to Tulsi Gabbard was like a tongue-clicking soccer mom response. Oh, sweetie, you can try next time. You don't have enough support. You must be this big to ride. Ha, ha, ha. Stupid. This is what Hillary Clinton would do. Very patronizing. It just comes off the wrong way. This was a Hillary Clinton moment for her. This was as bad as the deplorables, in the last election. Arguably worse, Harris hasn't even become the fucking nominee yet. She's having real problems. I'm seeing increasingly people on the left saying, what the fuck is she even doing? They're also crucifying Joe Biden, when you think about it. They're like, well, he had all these opportunities to basically seal the deal, and he just kept sidestepping and jabbing instead. Almost like he wants to continue having to fight for the nomination. I think it's just because he's inept. The thing is, he's got no real opponent at this point. Elizabeth Warren is 10 points behind him. Bernie Sanders is like 12 points behind him. Those are the next ups. Kamala Harris falling down. I don't know what that'll mean. I can't imagine that many Kamala Harris fans will back Warren because they appear to... They're sort of rival authoritarian female figures that are on the vote for me because I have no Y chromosome train. So, where is it? Bernie Sanders, maybe? I don't really... I think ideologically, maybe. But then again, if you're a Kamala Harris fan, you might be a never Bernie voter anyway because he's a white male. So maybe it goes to Biden by default just as being the electable one. Like, there's a lot of white males in the top crust there. Joe Biden's the front runner. You got Bernie Sanders, the geriatric socialist. Then you got Pete Buttigieg, who's not even 40 years old. By the way, he is gay. Everyone else other than Pete Buttigieg will remind you of this. It's of great importance, except to the candidate himself. He's trying to hush it up as much as possible. He's like, well, fucking leave me alone. By the way, that's credit to him. And he's in 5th place. And he's kind of sane. His campaign strategy, at the very least, is sane. Naturally, this means he's not the front runner. The Democrats are running around like chickens with their heads cut off at the moment. As far as Kamala Harris goes, Tulsi Gabbard, well spoken, came out of nowhere to deliver that particular fire. Now, Kamala Harris had already been targeted during the debate by other people. It's not like it was unique, but by and large, she could sidestep it. She didn't have a problem because it was coming from below in the field, and she could be dismissive. But Tulsi Gabbard, I think, this was sort of like when Chris Christie went after Marco Rubio during the debate. I think it was the 3rd Republican debate, if I remember correctly, in 2016. Remember how Chris Christie called out Rubio for being very scripted? Rubio didn't have any counterpoint to that because clearly he's scripted. He's a teleprompter reader. That's the kind of politician he is. He's not good at extemporaneous speaking. He's not good at being spontaneous individual. He's good at reading from a piece of paper or a screen. And so when Chris Christie called that out, he had like a robotic malfunction, leading to my hit single Marco Roboto at the time. It was great. And it basically knocked him out of the race. It's not that Rubio fell out of the top 3. It's just that he never became number 1 or number 2, and he never really gained any traction after that because people are like, well, this dude's got fucking problems. This was a similar moment. Somebody who herself is technically not viable, maybe in the future, I'm not discounting that, like as a person, Tulsi Gabbard makes more sense than some of them, except on guns. And maybe, is she a reparations Democrat? She probably is. Isn't she from Samoa or some crazy shit? But she comes out of nowhere, blindsides Kamala Harris, and does the nation a favor by making her unelectable. I already argued that Kamala Harris was because of her record, but the thing is that's because someone could exploit the record. I assumed if she became nominee, it would just be Trump doing that. It'd be so funny if Trump did that. And here's the other reason why we can say that the legacy media is pissed right now. They obviously like Kamala Harris. They like her ideology. They like that she's self-serving, opportunistic, corporate neoliberal, pretending to be a leftist. They like the fact that she's self-righteous and corrupt. They like these sorts of people because it's like them. It's like looking in a mirror. It's familiar. They don't like Tulsi Gabbard attacking her, therefore. You can tell this because all of their moron commentators came out immediately to say, well, there's a Russian connection with Tulsi Gabbard. The Kremlin has found its new candidate, essentially saying that she's going to be the chaos candidate. The Kremlin will fund her. And it's just like it's like such Red Scare bullshit, except that there's not even any communists for them to be scared of this time. There's not even a kernel of truth to the witch hunt. It's just the cover story that the DNC made up to cover its ass when its emails were leaked. Oh, Russians did it. Ha ha ha. They should have made it more believable and said it was China. At least then people would be like, yeah, well, China does hack everyone's email all the time, so it makes sense. No, it wasn't China. It was Russia. Maybe it's because the Democrats are the party of China. They're like pissed at Trump for trying to renegotiate trade deals. They're afraid he'll be successful. China and Trump, by the way, claiming their latest round of talks were successful. They were substantive, I believe was the actual quote. So that means no trade deal yet. Just got to keep working on it. Watching Kamala Harris fall, though, is funny, especially because I predicted that happening. A lot of people are like, well, the Democrats are going to coordinate her now. They're not going to get a chance to coordinate her. The thing is, usually what the Democrats do is they just take the front runners and they corrupt them all and they put them all in their pockets and then they let them hash it out in reality, and then they've got a controlled opposition candidate. Normally, they've done this in both systems, so what you've got is a situation where normally both candidates, the Republican and the Democrat, are both corrupt. Trump bucked that trend, came out of nowhere, used strategies that he talked about in his fucking book and still is right now that people are still mystified by for some odd reason. Just buy his book. Oh my god, you'd be giving $10 to Trump, but yeah, you'll know what he's up to and why. He comes out of nowhere, rips the establishment apart, takes over the Republican Party. They've continuously failed to stop him and obstruct him. He's still winning. They're slowing him down, but they're not managing to stop him. On the Democratic side, it looks like they're probably coordinated neoliberal. It'll probably be a Joe Biden or some other controlled op individual. They will probably go after the general election this time, but it's not clear that it's going to matter. Their insurmountable odds are against them. They say, well, we're ahead 5-10 points in all of these competitive states. I don't think so. Number one, I don't really trust the polls because time has shown that I probably shouldn't trust them. I trust aggregates, which show a slightly different picture. Number two, the Democrats are hanging themselves. They're ripping each other apart. They've got an extremely vicious primary cycle to go through that's going to be all sorts of wonky and weird. And then, whoever you coordinate faces off against Trump. There's no guarantee that your front runner's 76 years old. He could drop dead of a heart attack tomorrow. That would really put a damper on your spirits. Then I guess you'd have to nominate Elizabeth Warren. That would go over real well, by the way. Yeah, Elizabeth, yeah. Hey, guys, I want to open up the border, and then I want to give people free things when they walk across. No, I'm not going to raise a finger to try to stop them. All they'll have to do is be processed, and they get to come in the country. And so when 100 million people do that, it certainly won't strain the economy at all. No, it'll be able to grow. Especially since it's no longer an 1800s-style free market where people just put up a shanty wherever the fuck they want and sell whatever they want without any regulation. No, it's the economy being strangled by regulation and time-consuming bureaucratic processes. Certainly it won't be a problem. Now don't worry, we'll have another Homestead Act. Only this time it'll take 6 months to actually get your homestead, but well, yeah, we'll just have another Homestead Act. Fuck the American population, we'll just resettle anyone else that wants to come on free land. That's probably what Elizabeth Warren would do. Try to create a captive voting bloc for the Democrats or something. Make no mistake, that's what they want. That's what they ultimately want, because they know if they can create enough of a problem, it can't be solved without amnesty. That's basically their operative strategy. That's about all. Peace out.